Shalom Israel. So we back for another video. My bad for the sirens in the background, but it's symbolic of the trouble that we in with the Most High. But there's another group of people that's in great trouble with the Most High. And we gonna get into that with this video. So this is finally The Truth Shall Set You Free Part 2, proving that whites are not the real Jews but are the Edomites. In Part 1, we proved that the Negroes were the real Jews and that the Latin and Indian people were the real Israelites. But to prove that we are the people, we have to disprove that those who say they are the real Israelites are not the real Israelites. So to prove one side, we got to disprove the other one. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Before we get started, I'm going to give all glory, praise, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash in the Hebrew tongue. That would be the Father in the name of the Son, coming in the Holy Spirit. Also want to give glory and honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for educating all of us and spreading the truth through these years, and the other brothers that's laboring in the truth, spreading the word. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So you always hear me say Esau, the Edomites. We're going to talk about who they really are now. But Esau and the Edomites, that's Israel's worst enemy. But one thing you must know, that Esau is the twin brother of Israel. So you could say Israel, who is Jacob, will be the good brother, but Esau will be the evil twin brother. And you see this theme in a lot of movies and a lot of fictional stories. They get that idea from the Bible. But the true children of Israel are the so-called blacks, the so-called Latin people, and the so-called Indians. That we can see again right here with this 12 tribe chart of Israel, the blacks, the Indians, and the Latin people. And again, you can't say black Hebrew Israelites because most of the Israelites are Latin people. So that would be incorrect. But Esau is the father of the white race. And Esau has Israel in captivity. And this is our last captivity. Israel ruled back in the ancient times, on and off through the Bible days, and we completely ruled the world during the Dark Ages. And during that time, the white people were the barbarians. They were the low people in society, but before they were the barbarians, they were in the caves. They the true caveman and cave woman, and we're going to talk more about that in this video. Also, we mentioned how the whites stole our Dark Age history. They tried to say that they're the Europeans, the Germans, the Australians. They're not none of those people. We occupied all those lands back during the Dark Ages. And what happened is that we started mingling with them. The Most High sent the Black Plague to kill a lot of us. Then as our numbers dropped, the Edomites, the so-called whites, they rose up and overtook us and overtook all the land. But the whites also stole our identity. They not the real Jews. They are not the people of the Bible. And whatever else they go by, they are not that either. But they're another group of people that you will never hear about, which could be found in the Bible. And we're going to learn why they don't want you to know that's who they really are. Also, they oppressed the whole world, especially Israel. It's designed to keep us under Esau and to keep us from ever rising. Because once Israel is in power, through the power and the spirit, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, nothing can take us down. But all the nations of the world have this systematic effort to keep us out of power. Every nation on earth works together to keep us blind and to keep us out of power. And they do this mainly by brainwashing us. Like our history is hidden. The way they teach world history and American history, it's all a lie. It's almost always taught in reverse. And then they give us these false identities: black, African American, Afro American, all this other stuff that's made up. Then they give us these fake cultures. They give us a thug life culture, the nigga culture. Everybody else got their own culture. Whites got their own culture. So-called Latin people got their own culture. Chinese got their own culture. But us so-called blacks, it seems like our culture is based off what we see on TV. Whatever we see on TV or hear on the radio, that's our culture. And stuff on the radio and TV is changing every day. So our culture always changing. So we really don't have a culture. They also keep us brainwashed and distracted by keeping us entertained with sports, music, TV, social media, and every other thing that they design to keep us distracted with. But they give themselves the false identities such as white to sort of hide behind those identities. But they the true slaves, they the true barbarians, and they the caveman. And we're going to touch more on all that during this video. But they try to keep their history hidden so they can say that they superior to us, to enforce white supremacy. And we talk about when white supremacy became a thing. And again, this is the table of nations that the Most High created. So to the left, we got the people as they go by today. In the middle, we got the names of these groups of people in the Hebrew tongue, spelled in English. To the right, we got these same groups with their Hebrew nationalities translated into English. All right, chapter one is a fugitive. So a fugitive usually hide behind an alias or behind false identities. So that's why they steal all our identities to say we this, we that, but they really none of those people. And their ultimate alias is to say that they're white people. White was created during the Dark Ages, so that's another fake identity. But who really is Esau and the Edomites? The Bible describes them. It's the deceitful man. It's the bloody man. Whenever you see the deceitful, the wicked, the bloody man, it's talking about the so-called white man. That's why on this chart over here, got them in red, but that's why they calls them the bloody man. But they're the deceitful man because everything they say is pretty much a lie. They always say one thing but mean another thing. Like for example, they altered our holy book. That's not even their book. They're not even supposed to be touching it. And how they altered it is they took the true names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai out and replaced it with Jesus, the Lord, God, Jehovah, and all of that mess. And they also took out a bunch of stories and chapters and stuff. And that's where we get the slave Bible from. They also repainted the images of all our ancestors during the Renaissance period. That's the period after the Dark Ages. And we're going to look up this word Renaissance real quick to see what it means. So, Renaissance, the traditional movement in Europe between the medieval and the modern times. The medieval times is the Dark Ages, and the modern times will be sort of the 19th century and up. So, between the 14th century and the late 17th century. That's when they sort of came into power. That's when they started painting over all our images. This is where white Jesus comes from. This is where Christianity comes from. Well, not the true Christianity of the Bible, but how they twisted it up and used it for their own benefit. But also, they the father of lies. And we call them the bloody man because everywhere they go, they kill everybody and everything. They kill people, they kill animals, they even kill bees and insects. You know, sometimes in the summer, you don't even see that many bees and butterflies out like you used to. They killed everything and everybody. But they known as a bloody man because of the genocide of the Indian tribes. They almost completely wiped out the Native Americans off the planet. You barely see any full-blooded Native Americans these days. They also the bloody man because of the slavery and torture of the so-called blacks, the Negroes, during the slave times. And you see here, we got steal, kill, and destroy. That's in the scripture. That's what Satan does. They steal everything. They kill you to ultimately destroy you. They stole the Americas, but how did they steal the Americas? They stole the Americas by killing the Indian tribe. And what they do once they stole the Americas, they stole the Negroes from the west coast of Africa and bring us here to America. And then they stole the identity and the history of the Israelites to say that they was the people of the Bible. And then they deceived and killed the Indians. They didn't kill them in a fair fight. They gave them blankets of smallpox and got them sick and infected them and watched them die off. They got them drunk in their sleep and slaughtered them and took all their goods. And that's how they came up with Thanksgiving. Once we got here to the Americas, they tortured and killed us in any and every way possible. You ever watch Saw and Hostel, the movies where they torturing people? They've been doing all that to us. We watch that, we think it's a movie. No, we've been suffering that for hundreds of years. But the ultimate goal is to eradicate the true Israelites. But we'll learn that Esau, the Edomites, they really are nothing more than an animal. They're just another animal on planet Earth. And they the seed of the serpent, which is Satan. And we're going to get to that soon. Esau is Jacob's twin brother. Jacob is Israel. So the war between black and white started while we was in Rebecca's womb. Before we even took a breath of fresh air on this planet, the war had already started. And we're going to get into that in these scriptures. All right, Genesis chapter 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord, Yahweh, for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So Isaac went and prayed to the Lord, talked to the Most High, saying like his wife is barren, he wanted to have children. So she became pregnant, but it was a hard pregnancy. She went to a prophet, and she inquired of the Most High, and she was saying, yo, the Most High blessed me with this pregnancy. Why is it so hard? This can't be a blessing from the Most High. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. The one people shall be stronger, which is us, Jacob, and the elder shall serve the younger. Esau came out first, so he's the elder, and then Jacob came out second. So when it says that the elder shall serve the younger, means that Esau shall serve Jacob. So Esau is the true slave. The so-called white people are the true slaves. That's why we had them enslaved back under King David and King Solomon. and during the Dark Ages. But when we had them enslaved, we didn't torture them and oppress them like they do us. If anything, we helped them because we got them out the caves and civilized them. We're going to talk about that later. Verse 24, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red all over and hairy like a garment, and they call his name Esau. So Esau came out red and furry. There's nothing redder than a white person, especially a newborn white person. And we know it's a difference between a hairy so-called black man and a hairy white man. When we hairy, it's just a bunch of curled up hair, but when they hairy, it's like a patch of fur because they have animal-like hair. So example, this is how Esau looked. He was red like this, and he was hairy all over like this. See, this baby, dang, they're pretty furry. And nobody looked like this except white people and be born like this. But we're going to push play on this video right here. See? He proud of that too. But that's evidence against them to know that they're the cavemen and that they Esau. And after that, his brother came out and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. So in the womb, Jacob was beating up Esau. That's how Rebecca was having a hard pregnancy, and that's why Esau came out first. Jacob grabbing Esau by the heel when he came out the womb is prophetic, and we will discuss it at the end of the video. So notice it said that Esau came out red and hairy like a garment. Then it said his brother came out, who was called Jacob. It didn't describe how Jacob looked because Jacob looked normal. He looked like every other person around him. Everybody was dark and had color, and that's how Jacob came out. So when Esau came out red and hairy, the alarm went off, like this ain't right. But when Jacob came out, it's like, okay, we got a normal one. The boys grew and Esau was a cunning hunter. So Esau was a hunter. Now we're gonna look up this word cunning and see what it means. Because he wasn't just a hunter, he was a cunning hunter. Having or showing skill in achieving one's ends by deceit or evasion. Esau was a deceitful hunter. He wasn't even a good hunter. You know, a good hunter, they can take a knife, stalk their prey, chase it, catch it, overpower it, outsmart it. So Esau was a cunning hunter. He wasn't good at none of that. So how did Esau hunt? He probably cut off the head of a baby deer, had the baby deer head in the bushes moving it around, make it look like it's a baby deer. Then when the mother or other deer come around, that's when he jump out and kill the deer. Or he probably put out some food as bait to get the animal. Then the animal get there thinking he helping them out. He go kill the animal. So he was a cunning hunter. He was a deceitful hunter. Everything he do is deceitful. That's why the Bible calls them the bloody and deceitful man. These are hunters. Esau was a so-called white man. And only white people really hunt like this. Like, look at these people. Look at these women. They so proud that they killed one of God's creatures. Look at these animals. They're harmless. Look at this. They're not killing them for food. They're killing them for sport. That's what hunting is, to kill for sport. Now, it's okay to hunt and to fish for survival, but this is for sport. You got so many animals that's extinct because of this kind of behavior. And like they shot these animals down, they shooting us down like this in the streets. They hunt in the forests and in the deserts, and they hunt us in the streets and in the cities. So this is Esau for you. And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in his tents. So Jacob was minding his business. And that's what the so-called blacks do. We mind our business. We always say, no, that ain't got nothing to do with us. I'm just minding my business. So that's how we was. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage. And Esau came from the field and he was faint. So Esau had been out in the field chasing animals all day. And he was faint when he came to Jacob's tent. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Now pottage is like soup or stew. And why was it red? It was red because there was raw meat in it. So the blood was in the stew. It wasn't done cooking. But Esau said, screw that, I'm hungry now. Feed me with that bloody stew. Therefore his name was called Edom. So Esau is Edom. That's why they are the Edomites. They are red people and they like red food. Everything about them is bloody. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. So back in the ancient times, when the sons were blessed, the firstborn son got the greatest blessing. He got the greatest gift from the father. But Jacob, us so-called blacks, Latinas, we want to be number one. So Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So Esau was like, screw it, this ain't doing me no good, being a firstborn son. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. So Jacob didn't deceive him or anything. He didn't trick him. He didn't say, if you don't sell me your birthright, I'm gonna kill you. He didn't say none of that. He just said, swear to me, pretty much saying promise. So if I give you this, promise that you're gonna give me the birthright. And he sold it to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage pottage of lentils. And he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So Esau didn't care anyway. He didn't like his family or his bloodline. He despised his birthright. That's sort of like if you got some kids, you got a child that's going to go change their name. They're going to disown you. They're not going to claim you. This was Esau. Chapter 27, verse 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, his eyes were dim, so that he could not see. He called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And Isaac said, Behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before Yahweh, before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. So this was actually the Most High using Rebekah to get Jacob to get the blessing. The Most High was talking through Rebekah, because as you read in the scriptures, anytime the Most High commands somebody to do something, this is how he speaks. My son or my servant, obey my voice according to all that I command, according to all that I say. So this was the Most High speaking to Rebekah. Now Rebekah said, Go now to the flock and fetch me 2 good kids of goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he liveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. So she was trying to help Jacob get the blessing of the firstborn son. But really, the Most High Yahweh was in control of that. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. As we saw it in the video I played just a few minutes ago, there's nothing hairier than a hairy white man. They the Bigfoot, they the Sasquatch. Esau was in the field all the time. For Jacob to say Esau, my brother, is hairy, he was unkept. He didn't keep himself up like that. He had bad hygiene. Jacob said, I am a smooth man. My father will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I will bring a curse upon me, not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. So she took the goat's fur and put it on Jacob's hand and his neck. So when his father touched him, it would feel like he was touching Esau. Now, so-called black people hair is much different from white people hair. Our hair is sort of thick and curly. You know, it can be rough if it build up. But goat hair, that's animal hair. White people have animal-like hair. So that's why she took a goat and put it on Jacob so he could feel like an animal. Esau was an animal. The so-called white men are animals. Chapter 27, verse 18. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. See, Jacob wanted that firstborn birthright, that firstborn blessing. But ultimately, the Most High wanted Jacob to get that so he could bless him down the line. And so Jacob said, I have done accordingly. I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord Yahweh brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And Jacob said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. He came near and kissed him, and he smelled him and smelled his raiment, and blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field, which the Lord hath blessed. When Isaac smelled Jacob, Jacob smelled like an animal, because he had the skin and the fur of the goats on him. So Esau smelled like an animal, so he was unkept, he had bad hygiene. Therefore, God gave thee the dew of the heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Jacob's blessing, Israel's blessing, would be all the good stuff of the earth, and all the blessings of the Most High from heaven. And he would pretty much lack in nothing. Also, verse 29, Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. So every nation on the planet, including Esau, they are meant to be servants of the children of Israel. But you're going to finish verse 29. Be Lord over thy brethren, which is Esau. So be Lord over Esau. So Esau is supposed to be our servants, our slaves. Let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of the blessing of Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Let's go down to verse 34. And when he heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. Then Isaac said, Thy brother came with subtlety and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is this not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, which was a lie. We asked him to sell his birthright for thy red pottage. And behold, now he hath taken away thy blessing, which is another lie. Now he got the blessing, but the Most High set that up. So ultimately it was a lie. He didn't take the birthright or the blessing. Both the blessing and the birthright was given to Jacob. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord. So Isaac said, I made Jacob your Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine I have sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. So Esau was blessed with the good stuff of the earth, the riches, and blessings from the Most High. But this is where things change. Verse 40, And by thy sword shall thou live, and shall serve thy brother. So Esau is supposed to serve us. That's the way Most High designed it. But everything is flip-flopped right now. But ultimately he was given a sword. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Now this sword was not a literal physical sword, but a spiritual sword. And we'll talk more about that. Verse 41, And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. So because he sold his birthright to Jacob, and Jacob got the blessing, Esau wanted to kill Jacob, but Esau wouldn't have got the blessing anyway because he sold his birthright. So he set his own self up, and then out of his own corruption, he wanted to kill his brother. So Esau, the so-called white man, they've been murderers from the beginning of time. Now, we said that the firstborn usually gets the blessing. I'm going to show an example of that in Genesis chapter 48. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it pleased him. And Joseph held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He shall become a people, and he shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. Now this is another example of the younger son getting the greater blessing, the bigger blessing. Anytime this happens, the Most High is in control of that. The Most High ordained that to be. And this is the same case here, that through some works that Jacob got the blessing of the firstborn. The Most High was in control of that, how he spoke through Rebekah to Jacob. Now, Esau went in to kill Jacob. That's not the first time we've seen a story like this. This is also the same story of Cain and Abel. But Esau and Jacob is Cain and Abel in a regeneration. But in today's world, we would call it reincarnation, which they get that from the Bible. And most people not going to like the idea of that, but it's in the Bible. And there's plenty of videos that brothers made to show this. It's called regeneration. And we're going to go back to the beginning of the Bible. We're going to talk about Cain and Abel. And we're going to see how it led to Jacob and Esau and to Jacob getting the blessing. So Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman. Thee is the snake, Satan, which is not a literal snake. And between thy seed and her seed. And it shall bruise thy head and shall bruise his heel. So people not gonna like this, but first, Satan was not a literal snake. Adam and Eve, they was pure and innocent, but they not gonna listen to a snake that's crawling on his belly. But it refers to Satan as a snake because he has a snake-like tongue. You know, they got that forked tongue. So he say one thing but mean another thing. But Satan is a man. He's a human. And the Bible is figurative at times, but literal at times. When it describes Satan, the devil, as being a snake, it was being figurative. But Satan is a man. And when Satan tricks Eve into eating the apple, Satan has sex with Eve. People want to say, well, that's not in there. Well, it's a bunch of stuff that's not in the Bible. Like when Noah built the ark, it didn't say how many days a week he worked on it, or how many hours a day he worked on it, or where he got the wood from, and how he built it. It just tells you that he built the ark. So the Bible not going to say Satan had sex with Eve. It's only for those who look deep into the scriptures to understand. But also, the Bible's not going to put every single detail in history. It's going to put key points in it for us to read and study from. So keep in mind that the Most High said he's going to put enmity between thee and the woman. So we're going to go to chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. I know y'all saying, well, how can Cain be the son of Satan if she bore Cain to Adam? So there's a condition, I can't remember what it's called, but if a woman has sex with two different men within a certain time frame, that child can bear characteristics of both men. So that child can have characteristics from both fathers. So even though Adam knew Eve, his wife, and Adam got her pregnant, she still had DNA from Satan in her. So Cain came out with characteristics of both Satan and Adam. And Eve said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Verse 4. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Most High Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is this thy countenance fallen? So Cain pretty much was moping with his face down, all sad and depressed. So the Most High said, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. So Esau wanted to kill Jacob because he was jealous of the blessing that Jacob got. Cain actually killed Abel because he was jealous of the respect that the Most High Yahweh had for Abel. So Esau is Cain and Jacob is Abel. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? So we said that the so-called white people, they're the father of lies. Cain already lying right here. He said, I know not. And he got a smart with the Most High. He getting a smart mouth. He said, am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth. So Cain was cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So cursed from the earth, meaning that there's going to be something on the earth that curses you. So the curse is from the earth. So what is something that's on earth that causes pain and suffering to the so-called white man? It's the sun. That's why they out in the sun too long. They get sunburn. They can get third-degree burns. They can get skin cancer. That was a genius curse. Pretty much anywhere on the planet they go, they're going to be cursed. That's why it says they are cursed from the earth. And the fugitive and the vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So the Most High said you're going to be a fugitive. So like we say, they hide behind all these fake nationalities, European, American, Dutch, German. They're not none of them people anyways. That was the so-called blacks during those times in the dark ages. And that's why they hide behind white, because they still trying to hide their true identity. But actually they're the Edomites. So you'll be a fugitive and a vagabond, shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth. And from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And then Yahweh said, a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him shall kill him. But the Lord, when he curses people or punishes people, he got a special way of doing that, which we're going to look at real quick. And in Numbers 12, verse 9, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became leprous. So leprosy is a curse or a punishment from the Most High, which he inflicted on people, Old and New Testament. So Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. So Miriam pissed off the Most High, and the Most High afflicted her with leprosy. So she started to lose her pigment. So that was the curse that the Most High Yahweh put upon Cain. So the Most High said, "You're cursed from the earth, so you will receive a curse from the earth, which will be the sun. The sun is a curse to them." But it also said that the Most High set a mark upon Cain. So it's a physical mark. So what was that mark? So Cain just didn't get leprosy. The Most High made Cain white. So Cain became white after that. That was the mark that the Most High set upon Cain as a punishment. Now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 4, verse 23. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. These are descendants of Cain, pretty much saying, they killed the man for these reasons and this reasons. And they know that the Most High said that if anybody killed Cain, he'd be avenged sevenfold. But they was pretty much trying to outdo the Most High. Pretty much saying that if anybody kills Lamech, we gonna take revenge 70 and sevenfold. Pretty much they're gonna do 10 times worse than the Most High would do, which they can't, but that's in their thoughts. Just showing you that they was murderers from the beginning of time. Cain and Abel and Esau and Jacob is the same enmity or the same animosity that's between blacks and whites today, which started way back in the womb with Jacob and Esau. This is the same tension between the seed of Eve and the seed of Satan that the Most High stated in Genesis 3:15. Now we're going to go back a little bit. So when we go back to the Most High using Rebecca to get Jacob and again the blessing, that was from the Most High. Because remember, we talked about regeneration. Cain and Abel is Esau and Jacob. Cain is Esau, Abel is Jacob. So since at first Abel got tricked by Cain and killed, and the Most High wanted to get Cain back. He punished him at that time, but he will punish him again later on down the line. So the Most High set it up to where Jacob would sort of outsmart Esau into getting the birthright, to getting that blessing. So that's why the Most High used Rebecca to sort of trick Esau into not getting the blessing. But, had Jacob do this and that to get the blessing. That was all set up from the Most High. And we know it was from the Most High because the firstborn usually gets the blessing. But in this case, Jacob got the blessing of the firstborn, as he did with Ephraim and Manasseh later on down the line. All right, so we're going to compare Esau and Jacob. Esau, the firstborn, who became the Edomites, and Jacob, the secondborn, which will be the Israelites. Esau is the evil twin brother. Jacob is the good twin brother. So Esau was born red and hairy. Jacob was born normal. He was dark, black hair. Esau was a deceitful hunter, a cunning hunter. And Jacob was a mild man, minding his business, following the law, doing what he had to do each day to survive. And the blessings that these two got. They both were blessed with the fatness of the earth. They both were blessed with the dew of heaven. But Esau had to serve his brother Jacob, and Jacob was made lord over his brother. And Esau was blessed with the sword. This is not a physical sword, but a spiritual sword. But they do have a physical sword in a sense. All the guns and weapons, the army, these nukes, everything they got that they kill us by. Anything could be a sword. It doesn't have to be a weapon to be a sword. Anything that kills is considered a sword in the Bible. Everything that Edomites create is a sword for us Israelites. The medical field is a sword since so-called black people disproportionately die under professional medical care. Processed food is a sword since all the fried food spots are in black communities. Police and the justice system is also a sword since they shoot down so-called blacks every other day. And on the other hand, Jacob was blessed with the law, the covenants, the adoption, and the promises, everything that the Most High promised the Israelites later down the line. Now Esau was the seed of the serpent, and Jacob was the chosen seed, chosen by the Most High. The chief tribe of the Edomites would be Amalek. We're going to get that. Numbers chapter 24, verse 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. So the Most High saying that the end of these people is going to be that they perish forever. But we're going to talk about that later. And the capital city of Esau would be Mount Seir. So in Genesis chapter 36, verse 8, does dwell Esau in Mount Seir. So Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. We're going to look at some pictures of Mount Seir. The chief tribe of the Israelites would be Judah, the so-called Negroes here in America. And the capital city of Judah would be Jerusalem, the holy city. So where did white come from? We're going to talk about what is white and why did they come up with it. So we're going to talk about the origins of white. Like we discussed in part 1, no one is black, but also no one is white. The Bible never described anyone as being white except for when they were cursed with leprosy. Being white is a curse, but the Bible describes so-called white people as being red people and not white. So white is a color. Nobody is actually white. And the term white to describe people wasn't invented until after the Dark Ages. And we're going to pull that up.
White people did not exist before 1681. Again, white people did not exist on planet Earth until 1681. Number two, any claim that this group called white people, any claim that that group is rooted in biology or derived from genes or biology or is innate or is from nature is a lie. Third and final point. As a matter of foundational law, actually, let me say it this way. White supremacy has been embedded in the United States of America from its founding as a matter of law.
So you see in this video that the white woman even said that white didn't exist before the 1600s. And it was invented to start white supremacy here in America. They go by a lot of stuff, but the most accurate term for them would be Caucasian. Caucasian comes from the term Caucasus, which the Caucasus Mountains are in Asia. So during the Dark Ages, the so-called Edomites, the white people, they lived in the caves of Asia. That's where they get Caucasian, the Caucasus Mountains of Asia. And white is usually associated with holy, pure, clean, and all of that stuff, while they call us black, which is associated with being dirty, evil, wicked, and it's not true. For example, when you look outside in the winter and the snow all over the ground and all over the place, everything dead. The snow killed everything until further notice. So white is not really associated with anything being alive when you think about it. Bleach kills everything. It destroys everything it touches. So white is not so good as they try to make it seem like. Nothing white is good for you when you think about it. Not white sugar, white flour, white bread, or white rice. And then on the packaging they say bleached flour. Bleach and food don't mix. But also, they were painted most of the pictures of the prophets during that time, as we have seen a little bit. And during that time, they made the Son of the Most High a white man. They knew the Son of the Most High was not white, but we covered that in my last video. And also some more things that they invented. So we got human and we got mankind right here. Hue means color. You can Google this right now. So if you get man, which is human, you get man of color or a colored man. But if you get mankind, kind means similar, so similar to a man or kind of like a man. That's why they say all of mankind, because they're not really humans. They're like a man. This is pretty much white supremacy in a nutshell. The Son of God is white, so God is white. I'm white like God. I'm better than all people because I'm white like God. You gotta obey God, who is white. But since I'm white like God, you must obey me too. And even though they treat us wickedly, torture us, and kill us, you gotta love me anyway and forgive me. Because remember, I look like God. I'm white, just like God is. And they give us their washed up version of Christianity and pretty much saying, we torture you, but you still gotta obey me all your life, no matter what I do to you. But when you die and when I die, we both go to heaven and live in peace together forever. So that's pretty much white supremacy in a nutshell. I'm God, I look like God, follow me, obey me, I'm gonna kill you, you can't do nothing about it. Do right and we go to heaven. And that's not the case. So these are some examples of images that they repainted to make themselves the people of the Bible. Like I mentioned in my last video, this image looks too new. This was painted thousands of years ago. This looked like it was painted yesterday. Same with this one. The lines and the colors is too sharp. Same with this. In my last video, you seen where I have this picture and different variations of this picture from different places. So we know that this is the original. Let's watch this video right here.
When we learned how to remove the dark layers, we discovered underneath an overwhelming beauty, to such an extent that it shocked Andre Matisse, who was in Moscow at the time.
Let's play one more time.
When we learned how to remove the dark layers, we discovered underneath an overwhelming beauty, to such an extent that it shocked Andre Matisse, who was in Moscow at the time. When we learned how to remove the dark layers,
So her that she said, when we learned how to remove the dark layers. What's dark on these pictures, these people faces? So she said pretty much when we learned how to remove the darkness from the faces of these people. So these people are already brown people, so-called black people, but they was even darker than that. And why they lighter now? Because they scrape off the paint. But they didn't have to scrape off the paint of this red and this green and, and this white wall in the back. If they wanted to make these people white, they would have painted them white. You see the white behind them. But they had to scrape off these dark layers because they want these people to look as least black as possible. But where does Jesus come from? Jesus was invented after the Dark Ages, and the true name of the Savior is Yahweh Shai, with the name of the Father being Yahweh, which you covered in my very first video. So the true names were removed from the Bible to keep us in the dark, to take away our knowledge of the Bible. But Jesus really goes back to Zeus. In the image that we see today of so-called Jesus, this is really a man named Cesare Borgia or whatever. But also the name Jesus was the name of the very first slave ship in the 1500s. And I'm going to show y'all that. But we look over here in Daniel, it says that his hair was like pure wool. This man over here ain't got no woolly hair. But also in Revelation, it described him as his feet being like fine brass as if it was burnt in the furnace. So describe his skin as having the appearance of burnt brass. But this is actually Cesare Borgia down here. You can see he looks just like the model of Jesus that they give us today all over America. But this is Caesar Borgia again. And this is the fake image of the Messiah. So Caesar Borgia was actually a pope after the Dark Ages. But this is another picture of him, and you can see where they get the idea from, of the goatee, the long hair, and all of that stuff. This is just another illustration showing the transformation of Yahweh Shai into the Jesus that we have today. So these are actual ancient depictions of Yahweh Shai. You see, had a goatee, long hair, a mustache. That's why they chose Cesare Borgia to be the fake version of Yahweh Shai. If we look at this little caption right here, Leonardo da Vinci, the famous painter, the main reason he was famous for was transforming Yahweh Shai, our Messiah, into this man right here that we have today. This is not the Messiah, but Leonardo da Vinci had his hand in that transformation. And not only this, they had a hand in repainting all our images to make them look white. But Cesare Borgia was a mass murderer. In a description that I've seen in another video, he was a flaming hot homosexual too. So it said that Cesare Borgia, that he was every man's wife and every woman's husband. So he slept with all the men and all the women. You needed a wife, a girlfriend, a husband, a boyfriend. He had you either way you wanted it. Most of y'all seen his Mona Lisa painting. I think that's what they call her. But he's not really famous for that painting. They make him famous for that painting, which shows how good he could paint. You can look this either way. You'll know if it's a man or a woman. He was more famous for this here, not so much famous for this. Now, we said that Jesus was the name of the first slave ship. So I got a little illustration here y'all can look at. But over here, this is the actual illustration of Jesus. Now, we're going to read it. Jesus of Lubeck, name of the first slave ship to grace the Americas. A 700-ton ship purchased by King Henry from Queen Elizabeth. Now, they had a Queen Elizabeth back then. We got a Queen Elizabeth now. They always got Queen Elizabeths. They need to come up with a new queen. But we look at Wikipedia here, Jesus of Lubeck, from the 16th century. And actually, if we look here, we can see how they spelled it. Then we're going to go back a slide. They spelled Jesus, Jesus. Now, when we look at this illustration here, the Jesus of Lubeck. You got the J here, got the H, the E, a S, a U, and a S. So Jesus of Lubeck. The same thing here. This is a government website over there in the UK. It makes sense that they would have it in the UK because that's where the slave ships came from before they started going to Africa and stuff. Now, if we look down here, news of the slave merchants' success spread and they soon attracted wealthy, powerful backers in addition to support from Queen Elizabeth. In 1564, the Queen sponsored Hawkins by lending him her very own 700-ton vessel, Jesus of Lubeck. Now, John Hawkins, freeman of the city of Plymouth, left Plymouth specifically for the purpose of capturing Africans on the west coast of the African coast. So Jesus was a slave ship. So when we say in the name of Jesus, we was enslaved in the name of Jesus. Jesus brought us into slavery. So actually Jesus is a so-called white man's Messiah. He's their savior, which is not a real savior, but it was the beginning of the fall of us.